How are you? Welcome to Wine and Chill. Also, I got a new top and it's so funny. This is from Grassfields. And the other day when I had worn something from Grassfields, somebody was like, oh, the sizing is hit or miss. And in my mind, I was like, man, so far the sizing has been working. The sizing is hit or miss. I don't know what's happening. But this is basically my robe for today. Thank you. I feel like a judge. Hi, Jace. Hi, Judy. How are you? Hi, everyone. Hi, Brianna. Hi, Sapphire Princess. No, honey, you're not late. No, I'm late as usual. One of these days, I'm going to be on time. Some days I am on time, but I have figured out the technology. So now I'm like, oh, well, it's because I figured out the technology. Also, if you're watching the replay for the first time since we started lives, I have figured out how to have the live chat replay. So now y'all can see the live chat. I didn't realize that it wasn't there. So yeah. Every day I learn something new, child. Something new. Always Thaddeus. Always on CPT. Every day of my life. So yes, hi to y'all. Happy Pride. Look what I have. Also, so, during Pride, all the corporations do this cheesy thing where all of a sudden they decide to recognize LGBTQIA, people. What I like about house wine and why I've always bought house wine, they have it all the time, year round, and it's really good. So it is wine in a can, which reminds me of wine in a box. Do y'all remember that from Family Guy? It's actually really good. It's rosé and it's 2 glasses in one. So I buy them every once in a while. So happy Pride. Specifically, happy Pride to all my Black and brown members of the Pride community. Because sometimes, all the time, a lot of the time, y'all get overlooked, stolen from. So I want to acknowledge you. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all. And shout out to the scammers we're about to talk about today. The legal scammers. Yes, so let's get into it. Also, again, I need some suggestions about this name because Weekend Wind Down was lovely, but now it's on Thursdays and technically Thursday is the weekday. So the name needs to, get updated. I need to catch up on Pose. I'm behind. I need to catch up on it. Thank you. I wish y'all could see the whole thing, but I can't stand up because y'all know my technology skills don't go that far. I'm going to take a picture in it. It's actually really nice. And it's a nice fabric too. All right. So today we are going to talk about, in my Bernie voice, the billionaires. The billionaires, specifically the ProPublica Report, which shout out to ProPublica for doing the Lord's work. 3 claps to them. 3 claps to them. So this is going to be our agenda. We're going to talk about Art Laffer. If you don't know who Art Laffer is, don't worry. We're going to read him for filth. Just like somebody read him. Oh, Thursday tea. I like that. Spiked tea. Okay, we can maybe keep that one. I like that one. So we're going to start with Art Laffer, and trickle-down economics. We're going to talk about the ProPublica Report because they're out here doing the Lord's work. We're going to go through the numbers, which I hate math, but I will say they did an excellent job breaking down the math that even I understood, which is amazing. Also, if you haven't seen the report, I'll go ahead and drop it in the chat for you. 1 second. I think I put it in the description box, but just in case I didn't, here you go. Thursday tea. Y'all like Thursday tea? Okay. It's Thursdays currently, but I feel like Thursdays gives about to do shenanigans. It's not that wild. Hi, CC Funk. So we're going to go through the numbers, which they did an excellent job breaking down the numbers because as a regular, degular, smegular girl who actually is originally from 241st Street, if y'all know where that is, we pay a lot more in taxes than these people, which is kind of wild to see. And then we're going to talk about the case that has screwed us all, which is Eisner v. Macomber, which I think we're saying that right. And if we aren't, it doesn't matter. These people long dead. And then the Patreon is finally live. So we're going to talk about that and then some questions. Thursday tea is good. Okay, I'm getting lots of Thursday tea. I kind of like that one. Maybe we'll go with that one. All right, so next. So who is this man? Do y'all know this man? Whose man's is this? This is Art Laffer. Art Laffer is the reviled, notorious conservative economist who created trickle-down economics and that theory, also known as the Laffer curve. So if trickle-down economics, I have this little excerpt here from Investopedia, which basically states that tax breaks and benefits for corporations, the big businesses, are somehow supposed to trickle down to the regular, degular, smegular people like me and you in the United States. Yeah, it doesn't really work However, people love to believe that trickle-down economics was going to work. It never worked. It never worked in theory. It never worked in actuality. Nobody is trickling down any money to me and you, because if that was going to happen, then my student loans would have gotten paid. Thank you. It is a scam. It is a huge, giant scam. But what brought me joy was Art Laffer getting read for filth over this huge, giant scam, because apparently he has decided to backpedal and say we should tax the rich. And he claims that he's been saying this all along. So before we get into this ProPublica report, let's actually watch someone read the man who created this entire issue, part of the issue, for filth. This should start. Okay, see, I messed it up. Hold on.
Babe, I started the car 10 minutes ago.
What? How?
YouTube is
I
wrong
don't
for
even
this.
need it. Let's go.
Remote
so
engine
wrong
start
for
with climate control via smartphone.
Just wrong. They said we could
In the
get your
most
money out of you,
comfortable
girl.
Subaru Outback ever.
Okay, on to this.
Oh boy.
2 ads? Oh my God.
Hey.
Also, side note really quick before we continue, I probably have to take this out of the replay. So it's in the link description and I'll tell you like what minute. You should actually watch the whole video. It's very good. Mehdi Hasan has a great show. Mehdi Hasan has a great, excellent show. So you guys should watch the entire thing, but I'm just going to play the clip.
Yeah. I found all my lip balms.
Great.
Okay,
It still
YouTube,
works.
let's go.
That's all good. You want
Let's
some?
go. Let's go.
That
with
one's
the ad.
actually mine.
Okay.
Hill descent control.
Finders keepers.
Okay.
In the most
Subaru.
adventurous Subaru Outback ever.
Tax. But Arthur, I think it's, to be honest, time to have an honest talk about your legacy in this issue. I mean, it's fine for you to decry what ProPublica is reporting, but the truth is you are one of the architects of this legacy of misery in this country. You've dedicated your life to the kind of pseudo-intellectual ammunition for the plutocratic hijacking of this country that ProPublica reports. You, through your advocacy of supply-side economics and trickle-down, have a legacy of hurt and pain and stagnation that is unparalleled among economists. That homeless vet that I walk by on the street who is hurt by gutted government programs, he is your handiwork, Arthur Laffer, and you know that. The child in the Bronx's art classes are no more. That's your son. The waitress who took a chance on a degree and died before paying off the degree. That waitress's pain is the result of you advocating from the 80s onward for the kind of trickle down, cut taxes from the rich, social justice, downward Ponzi scheme. And it's fraudulent. And I'm glad you're waking up to reality.
I think
He don't know what to say, child.
Respond there to a series of points you made against him. Over to you.
Hasan, what I wrote this paper in 1981, which is the complete flat tax, which is just what ProPublica announces as the income, and that would be the flat tax that would be done. In the 1986 Tax Act, what we did was we did lower the tax rates down to what is it, 26% or so, and we broadened the tax base. We did include lots of write-offs that should not have been excluded for years and years and years. They did not take my advice at that time, and including as part of income increases in unrealized capital gains.
This is also revisionist
but let me just
history
tell you,
that he's
Anand,
saying.
You're totally wrong. All economists, this is the Haig-Simon definition of income that has been used in this ProPublica piece, and they are.
I'm dead. He done said the man's name wrong, and he was like, actually, it's Anand. First of all, get it correct. Second of all, stop speaking to me. So yeah, that's Art Laffer. Now, Art Laffer has turned a new leaf. He said, I have been saying this all along. Tax the rich, 13% even. Sure, Arthur. Do you want to know what else Art said? Do you want to know? Hold on. Let me pull up my notes as to what he said as of, I believe that was 3 days ago. And then 2 days ago, he decided to fix his little mouth to say, and quote, regarding $15 as the federal minimum wage. The poor, the minorities, the disenfranchised, those with less education, young people who haven't had the job experience, these people aren't worth $15 an hour in most cases. The poor, the minorities, and the disenfranchised, according to Art Laffer, are worth $15, child. But he wants us to believe he's turned a new leaf. Also, does he not realize you could be, also, I hate the fucking, sorry. I hate the word minority. What, Again, we are not the world minority. That's factually incorrect. So the disenfranchised that we are, do you feel like we're all uneducated, or that some of us have, by the grace of God, took out all these student loans and can't pay back? Just curious, Art. Just curious. That's none of my business.
Tax. But Arthur, I think it's
all right. So let me go to the next part. So now we're going to get into the ProPublica Report, which it brought me great joy to watch him get read. So the ProPublica Report, I have linked it here. It should be in the description box as well. So I highly recommend you read it. It's very well done. There's bubblies in here, child, is rosé. So this is what we're going to start with. So taken together, it demolishes the cornerstone myth of the American tax system, that everyone pays their fair share and that the richest Americans pay the most. The IRS records show that the wealthiest can perfectly legally pay income taxes that are only a tiny fraction of the hundreds of millions, if not billions, their fortunes grow each year. So before we get into the report as well, there's a section of the report that states, I think it was Bloomberg, because former Mayor Bloomberg of New York, he complained and said this is a violation of privacy, to which ProPublica said, F that, you don't deserve privacy in this. And previously, there is precedent that the ultra rich among us, their income used to be reported in the newspaper. So it is of the greater good for people to know how much money that y'all are hoarding. It is hoarding at this point from everyone else. So as a lawyer, I don't personally see a privacy concern either. Child, we're going to get to Joe and his, I'm not speaking to that man. I'm not speaking to that man any longer. Between that and his student loan failed promise, I'm not speaking to that man. So something that we all know, but I was very glad that ProPublica pointed this out. Many Americans live paycheck to paycheck, amassing little wealth and paying the federal government a percentage of their income that rises if they earn more. The more you make, the more you pay. The amount I pay in taxes is obscene. It is obscene, which is why it is going to take me so long to pay off my six-figure loans. In recent years, the median American household earned about $70,000 annually and paid 14% in federal taxes. The highest income tax rate, 37%, kicked in this year for couples on earnings above $628,000 taxes. So the confidential tax records obtained by ProPublica show that the ultra-rich effectively sidestep the system. So remember these percentages, 14% for the average family, 37% if you're doing you are a 1%er if you are making $628,000. If you are making, I believe it's more than $400,000, child, to be honest, $300,000, you are a 1%er. You are paying this much money in income tax. Hi, blood honey. So if you, for some reason like me, did not know what our tax system was until all of a sudden you realize a bunch of your check was missing, this is how much we pay. I am in the 24% range, and that's just federal tax. If you live in the beautiful state of New York, that is ultra not clean. So I don't know where my tax money is going. That's another 6 point whatever percent, depending on your bracket. If you live in the dirty city of New York City, who has plenty of potholes. So again, I don't know where the money is going. That's another 3%. I pay over 30% in taxes. I just would like to know that. Every year, I don't have any loopholes to get around my taxes. But I'm not a special white man. So such is life. So this is what they're paying. So here we go. Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Michael Bloomberg, Elon Musk. There were other, I believe about 25 or so of the ultra rich. Their tax returns are aggregated data mentioned in there. There is no copy and paste of look at so-and-so's money. That would be a violation of privacy. That's not what's in there. So they can all stop complaining. So when you look at it right here, so wealth growth for Warren Buffett, for example, he owns Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway owns a lot of the insurance companies. Again, in America, why don't we have free healthcare? Well, because Warren Buffett needs his money. I'm just curious. $24.3 billion, his wealth growth. His income reported is only $125 million. Total taxes paid, $23.7 million, which is about 10%. 0.10%. $23 million sounds like a lot of money. But remember, let's go backwards for 2 seconds. 0.10% for Warren. How much are we paying? 0.10%. I wish I could pay 0.10% taxes. I pay to fund the school when I don't have children. That's totally fine. I pay to fund the public library that literally has not been cleaned in years. I pay for the potholes that de Blasio doesn't feel like fixing. I'm just curious. All of you pay for it too. So this is what they're saying is the issue. Literally less than 5% they're paying in taxes of income tax because they don't have income, because we don't tax capital gains, which we're going to get into the legal why, the court case that doomed us all at capital gains. Yeah, that's, to be honest, this is why I'm moving to back home to Florida, where I grew up, because it's completely, oh, this is the wrong one. But yes, I agree. This is why it's crazy. Florida doesn't have, so I think Texas might be the same. Florida doesn't have state or city tax, which some of these states and cities do absolute nonsense with the state and city tax. So I don't know what we're giving it to them for. It's like, I would like an itemized receipt. I would like an itemized receipt of like where this money is going. Exactly. Child, they could pay the student loans with a blink of an eye. They just don't want to. They just don't want to. Why? Because then we would stop working for them. Okay, so let's go to the next. All right, so this is the numbers. We're going to get into the numbers, which I thought the numbers are really helpful to contextualize like why this is so messed up. When you look at it, $25 million point blank is a lot of money. Like, oh, that's a lot of money. What, they must be doing great things with all that money that Warren, legally gave. $25 million sounds like a great amount of money until you realize, which y'all know I cannot see this. I got to look over here. This is 25 human beings in America are collectively worth $1.1 trillion. For context, a lot of people fail to realize, and it's something that I try to realize, most people cannot understand what $1 billion is. I do not understand what $1 billion is. Most people can conceptually understand what $1 million is. Most people, if given proper circumstances and not forced to pay all this debt, can actually amass a $1.2, $1.3 billion. It is likely if you make $50,000 or more, and you don't have debt, and you are not an underprivileged person, and all these other things, you can. It is feasible. It is not feasible for the regular person to amass $1 billion. I saw a quote that said, billionaires are policy failures. And to put that in context, which I don't know where I saw this, hold on. I'm going to tell you how million in seconds. 1 second. I'm going to tell you something. Okay. So to put this in context, because a lot of people can't really see, like, we can't understand like what $1 billion is. Most people don't know billionaire. I never met a billionaire a day in my life. 1 million seconds is only 12 days. However, 1 billion seconds is 31 years. 1 trillion seconds is 31,688 years. So when you compare that to money, what is the reason? What is the reason for them to have all this money? There is no reason. So 25 people have $1.1 trillion. It takes 14.3 million of we, the regular, degular, smuggler people in America, wage earners, to tally the same amount of wealth. The average earner group paid literally 70 times as much in income taxes in 2018 than the 25. The average earner group of the teachers, the lawyers, the doctors. To be honest, I don't even know if the lawyers and the doctors are included in that. We probably aren't in the average earner group. So the engineers, the truck drivers like my dad, 14 million of those people equals 25 people of the richest people. Like, that's greediness. It's completely nonsense. It's complete nonsense. So if you go to the middle screenshot from ProPublica, this is from their Instagram, which I realized I forgot to like the first one. I got to go back and like all of them. So by the end of 2018, the 25 wealthiest Americans were worth 1.1 trillion. For comparison, we looked at the wage group. Oh, this is the same thing, of 14.3. I think I meant to like switch them around. And then, the last one, the 2018 personal federal tax bill for the top 25 wealthiest Americans. So this is the 25 people. They paid $1.9 billion. Okay, that's a lot of money, right? The total bill for the same 14.3, this is the regular, degular people of America, paid $143 billion. $142 billion more than these people that out-earned all of us. This is crazy. This is complete, utter nonsense and craziness. This is nothing but craziness. Also, I think it goes to say, which most people are agreed, but I think people don't want to like admit it all the time. The only way you become a billionaire is by literally either slave labor. Let's call a spade, slave labor or cheap labor. You know, Amazon don't let those people go to the bathroom in the warehouse. We've all seen it. We all know somebody that works in the Amazon warehouse. Or cheap labor, or by somehow doing something that is morally incorrect, morally bankrupt. That's the only way you can amass this amount of money. There is no one amassing this amount of money. I would go so far to say, outside of the entertainers who get paid a lot of money for entertainment, which makes sense. There are very few people that can entertain. Well, I don't know. Well, okay, fine. Let's just say it makes sense. Outside of that, and then a few of them can hit 1 billion, they will never hit multiple billions of dollars. Never. It will never happen. It's impossible. Oh, look at Tony. Worked for Billionaire. He didn't even perceive it, understood money the same way normal people do. Billionaires are modern day kings that seek power and influence to further family legacy. If you watch The Mind of Bill, I think it's called The Mind of Bill Gates on Netflix, is the most wild thing. It's the most wild thing. I understand that version of Bill now is trying to do good things, but if you look at the underlying thing, like for example, one of the episodes is about how he wants to put charter schools all through Washington state because he doesn't believe that the state school system is correct. One person has decided, hey, the state school system, I don't have any kids in it. I probably never sent my kids to public school, but I don't like it anymore. This is the charter school system and I want this system. One person shouldn't be allowed to do that. Whether or not it's correct or is irrelevant. He should lobby and he should, gather his neighbors, have them sign the petitions, whatever, get rid of the principle that he doesn't like a normal person. Why should he be so powerful to be like, I don't like this. I'm going to change all this. This is wild. It's completely wild. All right, so let's go. This is my favorite thing to say. Besides, always get a contract. Just because it's legal does not mean it's morally correct. So for 100% clarity, a scam is something that is immoral. It is not necessarily illegal, the definition of a scam. You can scam something and it's like, I don't know about that. Technically speaking, if you make all this money and you're not paying taxes, it feels a little scammy to me. So this is from ProPublica. I forgot the little citation on it. So certainly there are legal tax evaders among them. There have to be. But it turns out billionaires don't even evade taxes exotically or illicitly. Child, they're not even being fancy. They can avoid them routinely and legally. Most Americans have to work to live. When they do, they get paid and they get taxed. We work, we trade our time for money, which is the sad truth for a lot of people. The federal government considers almost every dollar workers earn to be income, and employers take taxes directly out of their paycheck. The Bezoses, Big B, as I call him, of the world, have no need to be paid a salary. Bezos' Amazon wage have long been set at the middle class level of around $80,000 a year. It's the audacity of him being like, haha, I'm just going to set it here so it appears like I'm normal. Sir, you're going to space next week. What is normal about this? Just for fun, just for giggles. What is normal about this? Good child. Good things are always on their terms. So let's get into who didn't pay what. So let's start with Big B himself. So Jeff Bezos did not pay federal income tax in the following years, 2007 and in 2011. In 2011, he went so far as to say he had an income loss and received a $4,000 child tax credit. True. I find that akin to the people, because we all know them, that claim kids that are not theirs. I'm just going to say that. I don't see the difference. How you get claiming tax credits for your children who are also billionaires? I'm confused. I'm very, very confused. Yes. Yep. Same thing. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so he's not the only one, and we're going to cover a few of them. Elon Musk, which people love Elon Musk. I don't know why. So last year, Tesla reported that Musk had pledged some 92 million shares, which were worth about $57.7 billion the bubble, sorry. As of May 29th, 2021, as collateral for personal loans. Remember the loan part? We're going to get into the mechanics of these loans because I thought I was in debt. Apparently they're also in debt, but a very, very different kind of debt. With the exception of 1 year where he exercised more than $1 billion in stock options. So if you work in tech, like I work in tech, you get the stock options. They don't count as anything until you exercise them. You get a certain amount. There's usually like a 1 year cliff. And then like there'll be like a 4-year vesting period. So like mine are like a 1 year cliff, 4-year vesting period. After the first year, I get 25% of them. And then every month I get more. The idea being if I exercise my stock, eventually they'll be worth money. But what they do with theirs is very, very interesting. And I've seen people do this when we'll get into that. Because when a regular person tries this, it does not end well. With the exception of 1 year of when he exercised, that's what I said. So Musk's ability is in no way reflective of the fortune he has at his disposal. In 2015, he paid $68,000 in federal income tax. Can I be honest with y'all? I paid last year almost $50,000 of federal income tax. Child, that's somebody's whole salary. That's somebody's whole salary. And that's fine if the money actually went to help people, if the money actually went to where it's supposed to go. How is he paying $68,000 and regular me is paying $50,000? I'm just very confused. I'm very confused why I still live in this tiny studio. I'm very confused why I still owe $226,000 in student loans and I've paid off $85,000 in 15 months, but I still owe so much. I'm just very confused. I'm very confused by all of it. And by confused, I mean more so annoyed. It was $65,000. And in 2018, he paid no federal income tax. Again, one of those, let's get it to zero. It's a game to them. Between 2014 and 2018, he had a true tax rate of 3.27%. Again, and just to highlight this for the 11th time, 3% is not even on the chart. For people living in actual poverty, if you make $10,000, you are living in poverty. They pay more in taxes than him. More in taxes than him. People in actual poverty. Child. It's disgusting. They should all be disgusted. So not to be left out of the fray is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is notorious for trying to be the good guy, the good billionaire. You know, I'm trying to do good things in his old age while he still props up insurance companies when we should just have free health care. And it's not really free because we pay enough taxes. It's really not free. It's really not free. So Warren Buffett wrote, and he said, this is regarding, because there are also corporations that are doing this, which we'd have to do like a part 2 to get into that. There are corporations that also don't pay federal tax. Amazon, the company, is notorious for this, which people have long been like, what do you mean Amazon doesn't pay federal tax? All this money, all these purchases. So that's what that first paragraph is about. So he wrote, I continue to believe that the tax code should be changed substantially. So he believes it. He wrote, adding that he thought huge dynastic wealth is not desirable for our society, yet he has huge dynastic wealth. The decision not to have Berkshire pay dividends, so that's about corporate tax. So we'll go to the last paragraph. Buffett reiterated that he has begun giving his enormous fortune away and ultimately plans to donate 99.5% of it to charity. Plans. Sir, you're about 80-something years old. You could just do it now. You could just, I'm here and I'm willing and I'm able. You could just donate the money to the students now, the student loans. You know, you want to do something good. You want to help people that actually, you know, are going to hopefully continue on in life. Like you are exiting most likely this earth soon, and yet you still have plans to give away the money. Or you could just do it. People were so shocked. I think it was last year, the year before, when Mackenzie Bezos, when they got divorced, she gave, I believe it was $100 million or more dollars to HBCUs. And she literally just wrote a check. And people are like, wow, this is unprecedented. Usually people go through a foundation, they do all these things. And Mackenzie just gave the money. And I'm like, yeah, like a real person. Like you could just give the money. I agree, Creed. It's probably PR, but it's the fact that she just gave it away versus these people being like, oh, I have the plan. Like I gotta go through my 501c3 and I have to make a charity and I have to have a charity gala for myself where I sit at the high table and I'm here and you're there because I'm here. And then maybe I'll give you $10. It's completely ridiculous. It's such it is a small fraction of her worth. It is. I'm more so, hey, Eladia. This is my cousin. That's so funny. It's more so the fact that she just did it, which I was kind of like, wow, you can just do it. Because they act like it's a to-do to give away money. It's not a to-do. It's very simple. Just give the money. Just give the money. All right, so now we're going to get to the case that screwed us all. We are going to do like calls at the end, so don't worry. I know this is like a little bit longer than usual, but this is also like a very long report. Highly recommend again. So there was a court case some years ago, as in like the 1920s, called Eisner v. Macomber. So this was a Supreme Court case, which y'all know I cannot see. Hold on. So I'm just going to read it to you, and then we're going to talk about it. So in Eisner v. Macomber, the High Court ruled, the Supreme Court, that income derived only from proceeds, as in an action has to take place. A person needs to sell an asset, stock, bond, or building and reap some money before it could be taxed. Since then, the concept that income only come from proceeds when gains are realized has been the bedrock of the U.S. tax system. So when people say capital gains is coming from this. Wages are taxed, cash dividends are taxed, gains from selling assets are taxed. But if a taxpayer hasn't sold anything, there is no income and therefore no tax. This is factually doesn't make sense, but that's what the court ruled. Contemporary critics of Macomber were plentiful and prescient. I always say that word wrong. Cordell Hull, the congressman known as the father of the income tax, assailed the decision. According to scholar Marjorie Kornhauser, Hull predicted that tax avoidance would become common. The ruling opened a gaping loophole, Hull warned, allowing industrialists, so like that's what they used to call the richies, to build a company and borrow against the stock to pay living expenses. Anyone could live upon the value of their company stock without selling it and, of course, without ever paying tax. Now, before we get into like the very lovely illustration that ProPublica oh, thank you, Procket Watching. Oh, I told y'all that whenever you send a super chat, I'm gonna write it on that champagne bottle. So I'll go grab it in like a second, so I can write it on. Thank you so much. Deferred asses. Yep. So we're gonna talk about that. So basically, yeah, that's the only way is to play the game. So we're going to talk about how this works. Now, do you see like how they were talking about basically how this works? Oh, let me put that up there. Sorry. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. How this works. But I agree with Blood Honey. And we talked about this last week that the French love to revolt. The English have learned to revolt. And the Americans just over here, child, just accepting things. Like we have to stop accepting it. I think there are more of us than them. 14.3 million people paid more taxes than 25 people. That's wild. 70% more, 70 times more. So I'm a little bit more fire. Bun it down, as we say. So with that being said, one thing I want to point out. So moons ago, which most of you know this company, I worked at this very large tech adjacent company, I would say. I wouldn't particularly categorize it as tech. They categorize themselves as tech. I've mentioned this like before, but what happened was right before their IPO got pulled, the CEO got pushed out. It was a disaster. But do you know what a decent amount of employees did? Employees that had been there for years, before the whole thing went into disaster, they realized, hey, I'm going to exercise my stock options, because that's the whole purpose of joining tech. You exercise your stock options. They exercise their stock options. So say, for example, take in mind, remember, I'm very bad at math. So this is going to be very rudimentary math. Say, for example, I have 10,000 stock options. So they sat there and were like, I have 10,000 stock options. Okay, cool. I'm going to exercise these options. These options, the market value, the private market value, pre-IPO value of these stock is going to be $100. I think it was valued at one point like $300 a share. It was ridiculous. The whole thing was inflated. So let's say $100. 100 times 10,000. Even that, I'm like, is that 100,000? Child, Y'all know this is not my forte. Oh, that's $1 million. Again, math is not my ministry. So $1 million. So say employee A was like, actually, I have $1 million now, because this is what the ultra rich are doing. I have $1 million. I'm a millionaire. Mind you, the company did not IPO yet. Everybody sat there and counted their money and was like, I'm rich. I'm rich. What did they do? Some of these people, they went to the bank. They went to the bank and said, look, I exercised my stock options. This is the pre-IPO valuation. Give me a loan for this money. You know what these people then did with that loan? They bought yachts. They bought houses. They bought all kind of nonsense. And you know what happened when the IPO got pulled? Those people didn't get a red cent. The CEO got bailed out and those people were underwater, broke, owing all that money. This is what the rich do. But the rich know that, oh no, this is a sure thing. Like, this is a public company. I know how much this is worth, which is we're going to get into the mechanics of this. Okay, so this will hopefully, I think this will stay in. So this is credited to ProPublica, and they have allowed, I believe, a common license. I'm missing a word. It's like common theme, common, I always forget the word, license. So this is how the rich are actually living, and they are actually in way more debt than we, the regular, but their interest rate is significantly lower. Let me play it. Hold on. Thank you again for pocket watching. So if you send a super chat, I will write your name on this. And then when I pay off student loan number 20, then somebody's going to pop it. Because as y'all have seen, I don't know how to pop champagne. And that was, a mess. Okay, so let me play it now. Sorry about that. At least y'all got to see the nice visuals. Also, shout out to ProPublica. There are no ads on this, unlike the other video, we had to watch Subaru. So that's cool.
Some of the very richest Americans pay little in taxes compared with how fast their fortunes grow each year. How? They use a tax strategy known as buy, borrow, die. It's like the ultra wealthy are living on another planet. Average people need income to pay for basics like housing and food. But the ultra wealthy don't. They can just live on borrowed cash. Step 1, buy. The ultra wealthy buy an asset or build a company or inherit a fortune. As long as they don't sell, they owe no taxes. They keep their income as low as possible, since every dollar they earn can be taxed. Step 2, borrow. They borrow against their holdings and the bank gives them a really good deal.
I'll loan you $10 million with only 3% interest. But if you take a $10 million salary from your company, you'll owe almost 37% to the IRS.
So the ultra wealthy use loan money to fund their lifestyles. That's how a billionaire can live the most luxurious life imaginable while reporting little to no taxable income. Step 3, die. When they die, these lucky few often use complicated trusts and philanthropic foundations to avoid the estate tax. And their heirs can inherit stocks and other assets tax-free. A new generation is ultra wealthy and the cycle starts all over again.
All right, so sorry about the mishap the first time. But yes, that is a very simplified version of what's going on, but it's correct because I have seen it in real life when I worked at said place when regular people was like, I'm going to do it too. No, don't do that because it doesn't work for regular people. It is a very dangerous game that people are playing, but rich people can do that because they know they have the money. They just never sell anything. So they are essentially scammers living on credit. Name something that's classy if you're rich, but trashy if you're poor. Okay. So yes, now that I have riled up all your nerves, I apologize. The Patreon is live. So the Patreon is live, and I want to walk you guys through that, and then we're going to do questions. So last week, I think I announced that we are going to do Colonizer Exposed, similar to the colonization in the Crown video. It's going to be like that. Hello, Cheeto has no money, child. Cheeto is borrowing all of it. Is very interesting. When the banks are allowing this, actually, before we get into the Patreon, something very, very important to point out, the banks, our federal banks are encouraging this. The federal banks give them interest rates that are so low, it would literally blow your mind. Between 2 and 3%. Do you know because it's on there. My Sallie Mae student loan was a 10% interest rate. 10%. And then people have the nerve, the audacity and the gall to say, oh, because they don't know if you're going to pay it back. How you know that these rich people are going to pay it back? How many of them have been scamming all this time? And you think that, oh, we know they're going to pay it back. How many of them claim bankruptcy so they don't have to pay these things back? The banks also need to be chastised and be corrected. And they shouldn't, if you're giving 3% loans, but yet the Black community is very hard for the Black community to get a business loan, but it's very easy to get a student loan. I have questions. I have serious questions. So a rant for another day. But yes, so the Patreon is live. Let me try and show you. I'm very excited. We're going to start with Colonizer Exposed. Basically, things will live on Patreon. Maybe a few videos will end up on YouTube. I'm not sure yet. Multiple reasons. The one being, child, the Veritol aimed at Black women on YouTube, I don't have the patience for. I will choose violence. And I don't really want to do that. So I really think that it will live on Patreon for a while. So we are starting with the first 5 countries. We're going to do Belgium first, which doing the research of that was wild. If you're wondering, Stephanie, why are we doing Belgium? Because Belgium and King Leopold have committed the largest genocide in human history, and it goes ignored, which is disgusting. Then we're doing UK. Oh, we're going to do America next because America is a colonizer. UK, Spain, because Spain has ruined the Latinx girls, ruined them. And then we are going to do, did I say England? I'm forgetting somebody. France. How could I forget France? Also, did you see President Macron got slapped in the face? Did y'all see that? If not, I'll show it to you after when we're doing the chats because it's hysterical. Shouldn't slap people, but it's very funny. It's very funny. So let me pull up the Patreon really quick just so you guys can see it. I've watched it way too many times, and all of my French friends that are lovely people. Yes, French people can be lovely people. I just want to say that. However, I said what I said, and it is a mess. It's a mess, but it was quite funny, and they were all laughing. So let me pull up the Patreon really quick. Okay, let's see how I do live trying to do this, child. Because when I have it set up, now I know what I'm doing. When I don't have it set up, that's a different story. Let's see. Did I do it? Oh, look at that. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through what the tiers are. If I can find where the heck it went. Is it this? Is it moving? Uh-oh, now I lost y'all. Crap. Wait, where did you guys go? Okay, StreamYard. Nope, I'm on the wrong one. There's 2. Okay, is this it? Did it move? Yeah, that's that one. Okay. Let me see. Okay, so here we go. Let me walk you through this, and then we're going to do question. So, yes, of course there will be wine. How could there not be wine? These are the pricing. I want to make it super affordable. Just so you know, from jump, all the videos come with $2. So it's just different things you're getting with other ones. All of the videos will come with $2. So with $2, you'll get early access to Colonizer Exposed and any potentially non-YouTube news series. For context, yes, and for transparency, maybe some of the videos will end up on YouTube. I'm not sure yet. They will definitely be on Patreon for $5, and that one will be rosé, so I named them after wines. So for Pinot Grigio, you will get early access to the videos, Patreon-only updates. Also, we're going to do chats, live chats during the premieres of the videos. And then Sauvignon Blanc, you will get a Patreon-only monthly live stream. So we can talk about whatever you guys want. If it's the video or if there's something going on specifically that we haven't talked about on YouTube, we'll do that. And then with every tier, you always get what is in the prior tiers. So you will still get the videos as well as access to the chat, while it's live. So this is for, and I'm going to reiterate this and be very honest. This is for if you don't have student loans. If you have discretionary income and you feel like you want to give some coins to little old me. No, if you don't, it's totally fine. But I just want to put that out there. So $20, I'll put your name in the YouTube credits of the YouTube videos, not the lives, because the lives they just stream, but of the YouTube videos when I edit them. And then that's going to be Sancerre, which Sancerre is actually my favorite wine, but I know people love champagne, so it made sense for champagne to be the most extravagant. So for a champagne, I will send you a birthday gift. So once a year, because you can only be born once, you know. Listen. A black-owned wine with a handmade card, and specifically, it'll be a black-owned wine. You can let me know if you like red or white. Of course, I can cater to that. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you guys that. Oh, yes, and we're definitely doing Liz, so I'll let you guys know. I'm done with y'all. Hi, Barbados. Hi, Innovative Media. So yeah, so thank you guys. And I'm like super excited about this. So this is all going to go live on Juneteenth. We are going to kick it off on Juneteenth, which is next Saturday. And next week's live, we're going to talk about Juneteenth. We are going to talk about Black Wall Street and the new, you know, interest in reparations, because every couple of years they like to pretend that is happening in the US. So we're going to discuss that and the why of that. So yes, I appreciate you guys. And I will actually go ahead and put the link here in the chat if you guys would like to sign up. And yeah, and then we can do calls now. So I appreciate y'all. And I think it's like a great suggestion from you guys, kind of pushed me to do it. And I'm excited because I'm going to try like new editing style. So for context, how these videos are going to be, they're going to be like a full beginning to end historical recount of the why. So like truncated, but you know, same me, but I think I'm going to try to do like more graphics and then bring in the current events as to like clearly colonization has screwed everyone and we have not fixed it. So in case you're wondering. And then next week, I'll do like a preview during next week's live. If you're curious, like, okay, what's this going to look like? I'll do a preview of Colonizer Exposed Belgium next week during our live. All right. So let me go ahead and send you, if you guys want to call in and talk about the Billionaires. Bernie's my favorite person just for saying that because it makes me laugh. I think he's so funny. Thank you, Judy. I appreciate you. All right. And if not, it's also 8 o'clock, so that's totally fine too. Yes, we need to remove the Queen as the head of state. You know, the Queen is the head of state of Canada. I think most Canadians are not aware of this. If you're in Canada, please let me know if you were aware that Madam Elizabeth is your queen. Oh, thank you for becoming a patron. I'm like, I don't even know what the proper term is. I've got Patreon. I'm getting like the emails. Oh, you guys are the best. Thank you so much. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take this call. And then hold on, before I take the call, let me see if I can put back up. Well, not that one. I don't want that one. Stop screen. I'm gonna put back up what we were talking about. So that way, if you're late, you can see it too. This one? Okay, cool. So let me go back. And then we can flip through it as we. Here we go. All right. So let me add Jace. Hi, Jace.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
This has been a good week for me.
Good to hear.
So I actually have a little bit of a story for you guys, and some of you guys like my stories, about something that Mr.
You saw what you said. Go say it. No, I was saying if you saw Judy's comment, Judy was always saying that she loves your stories, GRTV.
Yes, I did see that. Thank you. So in reference to what Mr. Art said about people not deserving $15 an hour, you know, that lovely group of people who run this country. And if we ever decided, F this, this entire country would fall apart. But so y'all know I used to work in a theme park. I reference it every time I call in. But so we were having one of the like quarterly meetings for like all the employees. And one of the admissions people got a little bold and decided to stand up and ask, why are the ride people, the ride operators, getting paid $10 an hour if you're a regular and then $12 if you're a lead, and the rest of us are duking it out here being paid minimum wage, which at the time, Florida's minimum wage was $8.36, so better.
Which is crazy.
Which is better than the federal minimum wage. It's better, but then, you know, we're not going to go there. And so the GM of the park, you could see that he was taken aback by this, because I don't even think he realized that those of us outside of attractions had heard that. But like, of course we have.
Taken aback that it was high in his opinion, or that it was low?
Taken aback about what?
That
he seemed a little taken aback that those of us outside of attractions, because for reference, I worked in retail, but those of us outside of attractions had heard that attractions people, who are the ride operators, were getting paid 10 and 12, depending on what job you worked. And no, that is not a living wage. No. Absolutely.
Like, where are you gonna live? This is why the whole thing is crazy.
It is crazy.
But Art said, you know, we, the poor, the disenfranchised, and the minorities don't deserve $15, child. Don't deserve it.
So what he has said was, because he kind of stood there for a second, and he was just like, he was kind of silent, and then he went on, and he's just like, so, you know how in a household there are different expenses for everything? Well, if all of your expenses go up by 10%, you're obviously not going to be able to pay all of them. So, of course, we have to raise some people's payment wage before other people's. And I just sat there and I was just like, no, he did not say
Wait, this. But don't you all live in a house? I'm confused where these people like think like reality of life is.
I'm saying though, like, I was just like, huh?
It's like, excuse me, what? I can't hear. I did not hear correctly.
Let me move my bang so I can read that again.
The bang is blocking me from hearing this foolishness you are saying, sir.
Exactly. Let me clip my bang back, you know, and then take my earrings off in case, you know, it leads to that.
Genteel killer. Listen, I almost just spit out my wine. I almost just spit out your. Karina is 100% correct. It's just kind of crazy because you want to hear something. Remember, I've said this a few times, but as an attorney, make this known because Art said the uneducated. I have a doctorate degree. As an attorney, I made $30,000 a year in entertainment, $13 an hour. And when pressed, the president of the entertainment company, is a very well-known one, 3 letters, y'all know this, pressed about why the wages were so low, he said, and quote, well, when I started here in 1980 something, the wage was lower than it is now. You know, it seems like it's keeping up. Everything seems like we're trying our best. Rich people, ultra rich people live in a different reality and they have no concept how much regular things cost. They have no concept.
They don't. They absolutely do not.
One of the mayoral candidates of New York, I forget which one it is. There's like 11 of them. One of them literally said the average, when asked like 2 weeks ago, what is the average cost of a home in Brooklyn? They said $100,000. The average cost of a home in Brooklyn is $600,000, child. 100K? You can't even buy a house in Miami for 100K. Child, you probably can buy a house in Jackson, Mississippi for 100K.
Exactly. The average house in my area is like $300,000, and you're getting a sketchy house for $300,000 around here. Like like it'll hold up, but like if a hurricane come through, but like if you got some little visitors in the house, girl, you just gonna have to deal with that.
Listen, the shutters are the old kind, the ones that cut your hands, the metal shutters. Those of you from Florida know.
Ooh, child. But just that was crazy. And like the wildest part about it, was after that meeting went out, our our manager, capital M manager, because the way the thing was, it was all weird, but the person who manages us in our area was just like, well, they asked and he answered. And I laughed and I left because that was my day off. I just had to go to the meeting and I could leave. I just laughed and I left. And this is the person who I was having issues with that one time, who called me into his office to tell me that I gave him an attitude for correcting him. So he was upset about that.
As the GM of a small theme park, like we're not talking about Disney, like anybody with sense has garnered like which one this is. That man doesn't make more than 150K. I would gather to think that man probably makes maybe 100K. As in, he's not living that high on the log for him to act a fool like this.
Right.
Child, I don't know what is happening over here. We getting spam, child, in these comments.
Must be.
I'm like, it's not negative, but I don't know what to do with that. So. Thank you, Mimi.
But I'm just the thing that kills
your name on here. I'm listening to you. I'm gonna write Mimi's name. Thank you, Mimi.
The thing that kills me is that these are the types of people who always push you pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you do this and you do that and you're gonna make it. And I'm just like,
they're saying bootstraps when they're wearing penny loafers. Like, stop it. Just stop it.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm just, and like, I hear that rhetoric all the time. And I'm just like, you're going to say to someone, yes, Miss Creed. Trust me, I'm looking.
Top the nonsense. Go on, make some money.
Honestly, that happened. I was at that job for 5 years. I got fired last year, and that was like
for not wanting to return to work during a panorama. I think that's important. And I also think when the lawsuit happens, your name should be, the headliner. The named plaintiff, just saying, the named plaintiff gets a little extra coins. I'm not encouraging anything. Remember, this is not legal advice.
Girl, I hear you. It's not legal advice, but But
hi, Brazil. Brazil is like one of my favorite countries. Rio was amazing. I went to Olympics years ago.
Oh my God. I honestly can't believe honestly, this year just being away from that job, I don't know how I dealt with it. I truly don't know how I dealt with it. But it's like hearing that rhetoric kills me because it's like, okay, so I'm someone who got decent grades in school. They weren't amazing, but they were good. Went on to college.
Kareen, this is not pennies. Hold on, Jay. Sorry. Don't make me cry. Thank you, Kareen. I appreciate this so much. This is a lot of money, and it's not lost on me that this is a lot of money. Child, in my old job, that's how many hours worked. That's a lot of hours.
But just went to college, had to drop out because I was having a mental breakdown because I had issues from my teenage years that I refused to deal with, and they were catching up with me. Mm-hmm. Could barely get out of bed to go to class. Was literally yelling at myself because I couldn't do the work. Like, it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. It's just like I would literally sit there with my laptop open and I just couldn't push myself to do it. So you're saying to that person, and it's wild to me. And then at the same job, they would say stuff like that to us. But then when it was like busy season or they were looking for more people, they would have all of these people who would come looking for a job and they would tell them what the pay rate was. And they would just like, nah, I'm good. And they would complain about people being like, nah, I'm good. And I'm just sat there like, so who's going to tell them?
The pay rate is too low. It's completely crazy.
It's too low for what we have to deal with.
It's crazy. It's completely crazy. And I'm gonna say one quick thing before I take this next call. There is a huge disgusting misconception throughout the world, but particularly in America, that poor people are lazy. Poor people work harder than rich people. Do you think Jeff Bezos works 10 trillion times harder than poor people? Do you think that? That's not correct.
Absolutely not.
It's not correct. It's absolutely incorrect. It's factually incorrect. There is no basis in reality there. There's no basis in reality. Jeff Bezos is there because, yes, he's a smart man. Okay, cool. Also, his parents gave him a $200,000 loan to start an online bookstore. Never forget, Amazon was a bookstore.
Exactly.
And he now uses cheap labor, abusive labor, where people are not even allowed to go to the bathroom. And also, like, Amazon makes most of its money off of AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, which is a completely like different conversation that most people like have no concept exists, which is software and is powering the government and all types of other things.
Yep.
Ciao.
And to what?
This unemployment. And then Joe had the nerve the other day to tell people, if you don't accept a job, we're going to yank your unemployment. Joe, how about we yank you? You're not keeping your promises.
Exactly. And the crazy thing is, so I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous live stream, but I did the math. And if I was working a full-time job with the amount that I was getting from unemployment, and this is with the enhanced employment, which, girl, go on with that foolishness. The extra $300 a week. That ain't no enhanced unemployment, boo-boo. But like, I would be making $14 an hour. Do you know how much to sustain yourself in Florida? They did a study. In order to sustain yourself in Florida, and I'm talking afford your rent. That's not talking about clothes. That's not talking about food, none of that. $20 an hour. You would have to be working $20 an hour full time.
And this is Florida, Florida is a relatively inexpensive state.
Yes. There's no state taxes. It's just federal taxes. There's no state taxes. And yet you would have to be working a job that is $20 an hour. Yes, food is high. Food is very high.
I was on my stories the other day. Do you know that in the hood, and I'm a hood adjacent person because child, I got in the hood, the food costs more than in richer neighborhoods. This is a proven fact. It's a proven fact. Because they assume people are on EBT. So they're like, well, they're not paying for it. The government's paying for it. This is also foolishness because EBT does not cover everybody's food, even the people that do get services. Do you know a pack of chicken last month in my Brooklyn neighborhood was $20. $20 for a pack of chicken. A pack of chicken. Not a whole chicken, a pack of chicken. Chicken thighs at that.
Chicken thighs.
Yo, Publix is rich. Oh, I want a pub sub. Well, Jace, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you as always. Go ahead and
I appreciate you too.
And I'm glad you're having a week. And I hope you have a great Pride and you celebrate. Not too close to people, child, because people.
Girl, I'm celebrating Pride in my home because I got my second shot a week ago. But even still, I am celebrating in my home. I will have a whole Pride parade in my home. My favorite K-pop group just came back. Girl, I'm already celebrating. Got the speakers up loud as hell. I don't care if I'm bothering nobody.
Bother them. It's fine. They could get some Black Boy joy. They will live. They will live.
All right. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I'll catch you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So I'm going to add pocket watching. Ready? I can see you, which is funny. Nobody ever shows their face.
Yeah, I'm ready now, I guess. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So real quick, first, thank you for letting us on. I love this conversation. So I'm coming on just to
super chat. I appreciate it.
I just want to play devil's advocate. Right?
Oh, I know the face. I know what the face is about.
Yeah. I just want to play devil's advocate here because as an accountant, I've seen it all play out, right? And it's not that the world is fair. That's one of probably the biggest issues that I kind of have when it comes to this argument is that the world is not fair. So why would we expect the tax system to be fair, right? It's not. And let's just take like sports, for example. I'm about 5'8", but I probably mostly tell people I'm 5'9". I loved basketball as a child, right? Played it all throughout my whole career up to high school. Then by the time I got to high school, I realized at my height and my skill ability, no matter how much I loved the game, I wasn't going to go D1, no matter what, right? Life just is not fair. I could have wanted it as much as anybody, but I had to shift gears to something that was probably more towards my skill base, right? In a perfect world,
the best person plays D1.
Right.
Wouldn't that inherently be fair?
Right. Well, it depends. Not all the time. Let me invite you into the world of sports and kind of how things go.
Oh, I used to work. They know.
In the world of sports, you can have a guy that is extremely tall or big, be it basketball, football, whatever. In this world of sports, you have to convince the coach every day when you're small that you can play. Every day, you have to convince them and let them know that you can play. When you're big, you have to convince the coach every day that you cannot play. The second the small guy messes up, the coach is so eager to throw in the big guy. You want to know why? You can coach skill. You can't coach size. So anybody who's small and have to overcome their size with skill, when they're placed against someone who is really, really big, the coach always wants to throw the big guy in because in the back of their mind, they think, I can always get them to be better. I can't get the small guy to be big. Now, I kind of went on a rant there, but that's kind of how life is, people. That's how life is. And I acknowledge that the way that our economic system is set up, everyone did not start at the same starting line. There were people when they were born, they were miles ahead of someone else. But you just have to recognize that and play the game accordingly.
And wouldn't that be systemic, though, if people are miles ahead of others?
Yeah, absolutely. And the only, like I said in the super chat, you got two options. You can either pay the money to lobby to change the laws to get some sort of equity, or you pay for an accountant to help you play the game better. But regardless, either way, you're going to be out of money.
Or option 3, which I think other countries have chosen, is quote, I'm saying this being facetious, but quote unquote violence, which is the system only works because we, all the 14.3 million people, are participating. If we all decided, which this is idealistic, this is not if we decided to not participate, the system would have to force a change a little bit.
But what is not participating mean? What does that look like?
No. Which is a privilege to say, like, oh, I'm just going to strike, which other countries have those privileges. I think Americans are of the idea that we can't. I think we can. America's very individualistic, which
technically you can, but we live in a society now. Most of those people back in the early stages of the industrial era, those people who had a luxury to strike or had to strike to create the basic working standards that we enjoy today, if they were to attempt to do it now, there's robots that can replace them.
I don't think so. And I think a good example of this, and because we talked about this last week, which I'm curious if Blood Honey will call in, because Blood Honey loves the labor movement and is like more knowledgeable, admittedly, on the intricacies of that than me. What I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the French decided, I'm not working. I'm tired of this. They wanted more pay. They wanted equal pay. And Charles de Gaulle did not fly for a whole week. So I think it's possible.
But I'm saying, give an example in the U.S. though. U.S.-based example.
But that's the problem. The U.S. is running on this idea like the U.S. is different. We're different. We have to accept this. We have to just keep it. I'm
just saying that the way that we're set up and the way new labor will come in. If you attempt to strike, okay, great for you. But there is another core group of people who would love the job that these people are striking from. And then what do? You beat the heads of the scabs? Is that where we're going to go?
I don't think so, but I don't think like saying, because like, for example, like I'm a lawyer. Being a lawyer is a privileged position. Like I have a doctorate degree. I've been in buildings that like my dad is a truck driver that my dad will never see. That like explaining to my dad on the phone, he's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, I didn't get it either. Like I'm flabbergasted.
Right.
And I could say like, well, I'm in this position. I know accountants. I know these people. I know how to, like, I pay off my student loans. Like I'm Gucci. I'm great. Like I can figure it out myself. But like, what good does that do for like the community? It doesn't do any good.
Well, you go back and you have, I'm sure with me through the National Association of Black Accountants, we do different events, different free clinics where we go back. You do what you can to sustain yourself first, because until you can take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. You do what you can to sustain yourself, upward mobility through education, like the both of us did, right? Because I believe both of our parents come from a working class type of background, and then they helped support us either monetarily or just through emotional support, got us through into college, and now we're at a stage that's beyond theirs, right? And then what we do is we give back to the community one by one with what we can. You can't pull everyone up at the same time. You're not strong enough. It would be ridiculous. I've seen a lot of my clients go broke attempting, and it's mostly sports and entertainment, and I'm sure you've seen this.
And also
when sports and entertainment, they try to pull up everybody, friends, family, distant cousins, and within 10 years, they're broke. So are they really better off?
No, and I think with sports also important to note, which like a lot of like my former clients used to say this, you don't see that like LeBron is a great player. And this is me saying this from a bias of like Miami Heat fan. I'm kind of annoyed with him. Fine. Is a great player. However, the best players are usually either dead or in prison. Like, let's be honest. This is the best player that made it. Like we went to college because there's an amount of privilege, even as a Black person, to say like, oh, I got to go to college. I got to get a doctorate degree. I got a master's degree. I got to do these things. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. Also, you wanted an example. So Chelsea, thank you. Chelsea gave a good example, which I forgot about this. The Writers Guild does strike every 10 years and they do win. So strikes do work. I think more of us need to get.
We have to admit that the Writers Guild isn't the lowest. They're not at the lower spectrum of income.
No, they're not.
The Writers Guild within themselves have created for themselves a high earning skill that is hard to replace. So they have a privileged position. A robot is not replacing the person who writes for the sitcom that had to go black for a couple of months. Yeah. We're talking about job positions where robots, I've seen robots flip burgers.
Those jobs. So to Jace's point, when Jace called, Jace was making what, $8 and something, and Jace, correct me if I'm wrong, $8 and something. That amount of money was never sustainable in the first place.
It never would. But it was never meant to be.
Like he doesn't have children. You get what I'm saying? So like somebody like, if I'm a single mother and life has been unkind to me, which I'm not, this is, but if life has been unkind to me and I make $8 and something, and like I have kids and I have to support them, the system was never going to help me. Like, what if I was super bright? What if I should have been a lawyer and I should have done these things?
But let's take a couple of steps back. Life has been unkind. What does that mean?
The system is incorrect.
The system's not correct for everybody. But life has been unkind. A lot of times that term is misplaced because there's a lot of personal life choices that you decided to be a single mother and working a low income job. Unless there was the R word involved there, becoming a single mother, there was some choices that a person made unless it was forced upon them, right? We can agree with that.
We will move away from this because the rest, I think it's reductive. We'll move away from that because I think there are a lot of factors, and I would never.
There's a lot of factors. There's socioeconomic factors that you cannot change. But one thing that we have to take ownership of is the decisions that we make, right? That low income, McDonald's job was never really meant to be a job for an individual who has a family to take care of. Those jobs were meant for the youth.
And 1 second. Thank you, L. Robinson. I appreciate you. Let me go ahead and write your name. My corporate voice real quick. And Nubi, and you got this. You could do this. agree with Natalia, which we're not going to talk about this, child, because my blood pressure will be raised. But I don't think like it's. I think it is a. And I'm not saying this is a critique of you. I think a lot of people, and I, again, somebody that has quote unquote made it, y'all. I don't know what that means anymore because I'm like, I make no money and everybody knows 70% of my check goes to my student loans, but that is a privilege to say it. I think saying that like, oh, minimum wage was never meant for people to live off of. People used to live off minimum wage. Case in point, my grandfather, which he would be totally fine with me saying this, for years has worked at Domino's Sugar Factory. He finally retired in Westchester. He finally retired. The day he stepped foot in America, he was a machinist and probably was like more well-regarded in Jamaica as a machinist, smart man, got a job in the factory. It sounds like, it's gross. It's low labor. That job in the factory, which I don't know how much it paid, got him a house in Westchester, a nice house. You know, there's way too many of us. He is a loving grandparent, gives us enough money, has a nice little nest egg that they have. He took forever to retire because he's stubborn, not because he couldn't. That is, I don't want to say, because I'm not in his business and in his coins, the same amount of money that a minimum wage worker is making, but he wasn't making six figures.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I understand that, but just go back a couple of steps. One, we can't confirm that he was low. He was minimum wage, right? We can't say he was minimum wage the whole time, but he wasn't making. He wasn't making multiple of thousands of dollars a year. I understand that, but just think about what he did, though. He went from an island where the skill set that he had, what he would do would not make the money that he made when he came here. So he left everything that he knew, all the comfort that he had from a home base, family support, the community that he was born in. He left that and took a calculated risk to come to a country that he was not from, that he did not have support, and he was able to cash in on that risk and create a life for himself. Can
I ask one question? And this is completely, and I want to make a point because I think it's important as like members of the diaspora, we're very honest about this. Most African-American / Black American, because I have African-American friends that say like, I don't like to be called that anymore. Okay, great. People doing well, do not have that luxury. It is a luxury for a Caribbean person to say, hey, I'm going to leave my island, eating mango, doing nonsense, whatever, and come over here and make some more money because I know that I can. Right. Most African-American / Black American people have never been afforded that. Like it's not factual. So I'm just curious like what your background is and how like you feel about that. Because I think there are a lot of Black immigrants that I have noticed that we've had this conversation before that are like, well, I did it. What's wrong with them? Why they just don't pick themselves up by the bootstraps? I'm just sitting there like, and that's not correct. It's not factually correct. And it's also harmful, I think, like that type of rhetoric to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with the premise because my own father my father was able to take himself and his life from where he started off and, gain skills and not even go to college. I'm talking about gain trade skills, right? To be able to live an upper middle class life for me, to put me in a privileged position where I was able to go to college. So I reject the premise that we who are, foundational Black Americans or however, the culture is saying it now, there's still that concept of being able to get up or, climb that ladder from low income to middle class to upper middle class.
Honestly, do you think that's everyone? Having grown up, I'm from Miami.
Once again, I got to go back to the point of life is not fair.
But if it's not,
everyone's not going to be able to do it. But everyone has a particular option to exercise.
Everyone, you think everyone?
I think most. I mean, I can't say there's not 100% in anything.
You think most people?
I believe most people, depending on their situation, have options to exercise.
I don't agree.
I think most people have options. Most people have options. Okay, give me an example where someone had no options to exercise. That is not some extreme example where a child was put into some sort of slavery position or, like a general situation where a person did not actually have options.
I have friends growing up. I'm from Miami. People know this. I'm born in New York, grew up in Miami. I have friends that we went same high school known I think when I went there, public school, 13th best public school in the country. Great public school. Everyone trying to get their kids into this public school. Predominantly Black and brown is Miami. Right. I have friends that went to same high school, different situations, didn't have the same privilege. It's privilege, to be honest. I had a single dad, but I had a single dad who was a truck driver and knew like, hey, I'm the only one in my family kind of struggling. Like, I know how to, like, I want you to work a desk job. That was my dad's goal in life. I want you to be a corporate worker. Like, manual labor is awful. That's how he felt about it. It is what it is. But I have the same friends who got the same education, who didn't necessarily have that, and then also had to support other people. So here we are now. Time
out. The question I have is the support other people when they were in high school.
When they're in high school, when they're in college. Like, I'm grown now. Now I help them.
I'm saying they had to support other people when they were in high school
and in college. Yes.
Who were the other people?
Their family members. And I think that's very normal of I don't know. I'm sorry. You told me the new term, which I'm trying to always be correct. I don't know what the new term is for African American / Black American.
Me either. I'm just, I heard something. Yeah, I might be completely wrong.
Okay. I'm old. I'm like, what's the term? Like, I'm trying to keep going. But I have a lot of friends, and that's the norm. And from a adult standpoint now, they're like, oh, it's the Black tax. Like, I give money back to my family. Like, oh, it's the Black tax. Like, and I'm sure you do. You give lots of money. Like, is what it is. Like, my white counterparts, child, they live their best life. And I'm like, well, not me. And that's fine. Is what it is. I had friends who had to do this at like a young age. And that, to me, I don't think they're outliers. I think that is the norm of Black people.
But the point we was trying to get to is the options. They didn't have any options. I think they had options. Right?
To tell their mom, hey, mom, I know I worked at the movie theater and I know I made like $500 this month, but like, it's my money to blow. Like,
no. That's not the option I'm saying. Was that the thing that kept them from being successful?
I think so. Yes.
Really?
I think so. Well, I wholeheartedly believe so.
Okay. Well, but what about the people who had that same condition, but yet they were successful?
But I think this is like down to like, this is an extreme example. I know we're trying to talk about normal people, but an extreme example is people love to prop up like the 1 in a million, like the Jay-Z, the whoever.
Yeah.
Look at so-and-so came from the projects, like came from Marcy Avenue. Look what they're doing. Why? Look at the rest of you. Just do it. And that's just not realistic because there is an amount of luck in this country. And I'm always trying to be 100% honest about it. I'm here because yes, I'm bright and I have good sense, but also a decent amount of luck for someone to even give me my internship at Bad Boy has set me on a life to even be here to complain about my student loans. Let's call it.
That's life. Life is a lot of luck. Like I'm not sure. You're in the Black community, so you played cards. I'm sure you played cards. I'm sure you played spades, right? You played spades before, correct?
I'm very bad at spades.
But you've played, right?
Bad at spades.
Right. So when it comes to cards, you have no control unless you're cheating. You have no control over the cards you are dealt. You have 100% control over how you play the hand that you have. I've had horrible hands, but have been able to win the books that I called by the way I played my hands. You can't focus too much on the cards you're dealt. You focus on how you can play the hand to achieve the most you can. And that's life.
So with that, do you think, honestly, do you think that there's another person with your entire same background, same cards, same everything that ended up, not in the gutter is like, oh, that's dramatic, but not as well off as you?
Absolutely. Because I played games with people who had great hands and they lost because they don't know how to play the cards they were dealt. Even though they had the big joker, they had the ace, they still lost or reneged because they don't know how to play the game.
Yeah, and I think it would be easier if we realize that the hands being dealt are systemic issues that we could all collectively just fix. That's my only.
That's the goal. I'm not saying accept the world as it is and don't change. I'm saying accept the world as it is, play the game as it currently is, while you do the best you can to get the rules changed. You have to do both, Because if you focus too much on one or the other, it can drive you insane.
I agree. Yeah, I agree it can. But what happens while you try to, because again, I think America and Americans specifically is a critique of Americans and someone growing up in America, I'm born here, are very individualistic. So I think Americans are not conditioned to understand the power of community. Like, what can communities do if people all of a sudden decide, I don't like any of this. This system is crap. To Victoria's point, systems can be changed. Like, I think more
we have decades and decades of recorded history of what can be done when a community comes together and they use the system to change the system, right? Throughout all of African American history, there's a lot of people who are celebrated as great leaders. But the one that I feel like gets the least amount of respect, that should get the #1 amount of respect, would be Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall was also a very light-skinned black man.
Oh yeah. But so was Malcolm X.
Exactly.
And Elijah Muhammad. But,
we got to talk about colorism if we're gonna go this route.
Right, but no, the point that I'm making with a Thurgood Marshall is that he was able, with a lot of other people, a lot of background people, but I'm saying he was able to go into the system and change the system and create a reality that uplifted a lot of people. I mean, the reason why we were able to go to the schools that we went to is because of the work of Thurgood Marshall and a whole lot of people, but I'm using him as the spearhead for that, right? If not for the work that he did, we wouldn't have been able to go with other people, but that's kind of the model. So we have history. It's not as if our community doesn't understand that, lives and communities and the world can be changed when you have a group of people who are dedicated to get that change done. We've experienced. We are the product of that reality.
I think we've forgotten that. The black wealth, the black experience in America has literally gone down since the 90s. Like most black people now cannot even afford the same level of comfort that their parents afforded. So clearly as a community, we have forgotten community economics, and we need, and by we have forgotten, I mean, I'm not putting the burden on us. It's not our fault, but I think individualism has been pushed on corporate Negroes. As being a corporate Negro, you can make it for yourself, Stephanie. It's fine. Forget everybody else. Everything's fine. Keep doing it. And I think Brianna's point is good. The united community is the elite loophole, allowed who lobby their will. So like rich people stand together. The 1% didn't get there being like, I'm by myself. They know what they're doing.
Right. And I think we've experienced that too. I think we've experienced an upliftment of our community. Are we where we should be? No. But we are far beyond where we were. I can tell you this for a fact. If I had a time machine, my time machine would always be focused on pointing to go to the future and not to the past. There is no one point in the past that I would prefer to live in throughout all of history.
But you can't have a...
Let's just think about that for a second. Would you trade living in this current era with any other era? Would your quality of life would it be better if you would trade any other era going in the past?
I think I'm the wrong person to ask this question. As
honestly,
only this era would afford and would purposely lend a 22-year-old black woman $200,000 to afford a degree that used to cost $1,000.
So the answer would be yes.
The 90s were much better to black people. Like it's just
so you would trade. You think your quality of life would be better?
Technology has gotten better, life advancement has gotten better, but the quality of black people has not gotten better.
So you would trade. You would think if take you now, same age, everything, go back then. Because remember, if you're going into the 90s now and you're in your late 20s,
I'm 30.
30. Okay, so you're 30, like late 20s, 30, right? So you're 30 now.
Unfortunately,
right? So if you're 30 now and we're going to the 90s, right? So that means you would have been born in the 70s.
Well,
right. So let's go. We gotta go with the logic all the way back. So if we're replacing you now with the 90s you at the same age, that means you're born in the late 60s to 70s. you wouldn't be you. You probably would never go to law school.
This is an existential question at this point.
Right. But I'm saying that's why the point that I was trying to make is you're at the greatest moment of time for you to be who you are right now. No other time in the past would have been able to produce you.
Well,
any other version of you in the past would have been stunning.
Life, yes, of course.
I'm just saying.
If we are talking about like systemically, if me in this same like demographic, same education level would be better off in the 90s, I would be better off. I would have more money. I would help more people, but we don't agree on it.
No, I'm not saying you now with the knowledge of the future. I'm saying.
Yes, we are the first generation. We are the first generation in years that will not achieve the same level of class status as our parents. We are the first generation. We're the first generation. This is completely true. You can look it up when you're done. And
I'm just saying, if you really remember the 90s, I'm telling you, your quality of life would not be where it is now. There's no way. Like we look back at the 90s and we think about cartoons and arcades. We got to remember the 90s was still in the middle of the crack epidemic.
I'm talking about money. Like I'm not talking about crack. I'm not talking about any of that.
But you have to take all of it.
Money.
You can't just take the money. You also got to take getting shot in the back for your Jordans or your 8-ball coat. You got to take all of it.
I live in Crooklyn. Like it's right. Nothing has changed.
So you got to take none of it's changed. I think Times Square in the early 90s and Times Square now is two totally different places.
Listen, there's more to be done if we realize that.
I agree.
The outliers, because we are outliers. This is not the normal standard. If we, the privileged, the outliers, like God bless the people. I wasn't one of them. God bless the people with 2 parents to encourage them. God bless the person that had one great parent to tell me, Stephanie, you can do it. Stephanie, you can do it. People don't have that. We have to acknowledge that is a privilege. Also, God bless the people that, like to Jace's point, some people can't study. Some people need, what should be free Medicare for all. Some people need all these things to get there. So we have to acknowledge if you are where you are in this country is because of privilege. It is hard for Black people to acknowledge, which is true, that listen, the most disrespected person in America is a Black woman, but that doesn't mean I don't have privileges. Right. There are privileges as a reality of life. And that's
the point that I was trying to make. That's the very first point when I got on. The point that I was trying to make is life is not fair. Life within itself is not fair. And if you are on a super crusade to make it fair, you're going to fight a winless game. Your job, or what you should focus more on, is how you can make it better and how you can help position people to play the game at the best of their ability. Because it will never be, quote unquote, fair. Because the guy who was born 3'5" will never play in the NBA, no matter how much he loves the game.
Love of the game doesn't make him great.
Right.
So it's not. That's not.
But he wants to be great, right?
The want and your actual status of like what your capability is two different things. Me as a Black woman, I could be way more capable than my white counterpart, and they'll get the raise over me. They'll get the promotion over me. They will get the etc. over me, even though I can do it. And I have shown I can do it. Somebody being 3'5", of course they can't play as good as Shaq.
Right.
If they could, then sure, let them be Spud Webb. Let them play, sure. But that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is, but they want to do it. Your want is irrelevant. It's about aptitude. And Black people in this country have the aptitude. And we have shown that we have that aptitude and have been denied systemically over and over and over and over again, which is why I think it's important when people are outliers to acknowledge, hey, I made it, but that doesn't mean because I'm special. That means, hey, I worked hard, but so-and-so worked hard.
You was in the right place at the right time, and you were able to capitalize on certain opportunities that other people didn't have. It's the same thing in the card game. If I'm dealt all 4 aces and I play my hand great, I'm most likely going to win, right? I didn't give myself that hand, but I'm going to play it the best I can. If I have trash as a hand, I'm still going to try to play it the best I can. And then when that round is over, I can't complain that the guy who had 4 aces won that round. Of course he won that round. I can't sit around and say it's unfair that he got dealt better cards than me.
This is a country built on systems, on processes, built on laws, built on purpose, built on redlining, built on
and people and people within our community have fought, died, and have been beaten to slowly break those things down. I'm not in support of it.
No, I'm not saying you are.
I'm just saying
to tell people
you recognize the realities for what they are, and then you do the best you can to one, make your own personal position the best as possible, and then you do the work to try to help those who come behind you.
And I think we can do both. And I think that's completely fine. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that. There are inherent flaws in saying, hey, I got to take care of me. And then it's like trickle down in economics. It doesn't work.
Well, no. I mean, yeah, those are two different things. I'm just saying.
It's so similar, though. Like
there are so many.
I'll give somebody some money. Instead, we could just say like, hey, this is a system. Whoever, if we're going with the card analogy, the card dealer is purposely giving certain people these things. I don't like it. I don't agree.
And listen, you call them out. You call them out. You call out the card
start
dealer.
Calling out our politicians. We should start.
That's the point I was making with the lobbying, working within the political system to get those bad card dealers out of their seat. But you're not going to get there through revolution, because the way that the U.S. is set up is, any armed revolution is going to fail. You're going to get there. I'm
not preaching people to be armed.
I know you're not. I'm not.
But I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that.
People striking, it's viable. It can't be America is so special that it won't work in America. Other people have done it. People in America have also done it. The teachers strike all the time. Unfortunately, the teachers, I think they need a little more gumph. Sometimes they're raised a little bit too low. But I've growing up Miami-Dade child. The Miami-Dade teachers, they strike every 3 years, and the pay raise is crap. But at least they've gotten somewhere. It can work. We just need to try it, and I think it's more important to try than to say, well, but if what, let's try play.
No. Striking is within the game. It's not like striking is illegal. Striking is a strategic play within the game. It's just that some people strike and they overplay their hand and they lose. Other people strike and they get the end result that they were working for, or they get closer to it. Striking is well within the rules of the game that we're playing.
Well, this was a very spirited debate. I appreciate it. I think points were made.
Right, absolutely. Thank you for even letting me on your platform. I appreciate it.
I'm always interested to see how different people think.
Right. Thank you.
Well, thank you, JT.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Channel. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Oh, Jace called back in. I feel like Jace about to say something spicy. Hold on. Let Jace have 2 seconds to cool off. I think that was very interesting. And again, I'm not saying armed revolt. Those words never came out of my mouth. All I'm saying is striking is saying, hey, I'm not going to work for $8.23 because my house costs X amount of dollars a month. This don't make no sense. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying about that. So, yep. All right. Jace, don't say nothing crazy because I'm going to have to edit it out. Okay. You guys have to apologize. You guys are funny.
Girl, I'm not gonna say nothing too crazy. Woo! Now, if this was my platform. But, so... First of all,
wait, before you say this, hold on. My Portuguese is awful. Pau de queijo marcinho. I'm not going to put it. I wonder if YouTube can actually read Portuguese. The Spanish version of this is very similar, which is very funny. And I know exactly what that means. So thank you kindly. That's very funny. Continue. Y'all could Google that if you all know what that means.
So, first of all, I feel like he was playing 2 different points there, because what he was saying was that life isn't fair, which is a fact.
Yeah.
However,
Natalia, don't encourage this foolishness.
Fairness or equity is not the same as equality.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Letting everyone play irregardless of their height is equality. Equity is choosing the best players for the game irregardless of their height. So that's one. Two, we should not be telling people that they need to work within the system because the system is broken. His little card game analogy made no sense because, number one, the dealer isn't just dealing people good hands, specific people good hands. They're specifically dealing us bad hands.
Exactly.
And that leads on to
favoritism. Exactly. It's a purposeful to make a certain set of people lower than they already are. Again, not to bring it back to this, but why, and we talked about this before, why in the early 2000s and in the 90s was there so much beautiful melanated Black people on the television, and now, child, where is it?
Exactly. But that leads into my third point. Okay, Jace. Ooh, I almost just let another word come out of my mouth. But
Jace, if you make me edit this, I'm gonna be so mad.
Bump this idea of high value people and high value labor. Labor is labor. People are people.
Thank you. And I think
you know what I had.
Money or Judy, which is GRTV, said that. One of them said that labor is labor. Like, why inherently as a lawyer should I get paid more than my dad, who's a truck driver? Why? He delivers gasoline. That's super dangerous. Isn't that more important than me like negotiating software contracts? What's so important about my job?
And talking about my job, this dude is over here talking about people getting replaced with robots. You know what? The technology already exists. They already have the technology to replace all of us with robots. And you want to know why they haven't done it? It's because they don't want a robot making their drink. Most people don't want a drink made by a robot. Most people don't want groceries delivered by robots. Most people don't want that. They want a person to do it for them. And further to my point, you know what I had to do for that 836? Not only was I a cashier, but I was also stocking shelves. I was also cleaning up the store. Anytime anyone spilled something within the store, I had to clean that up. We didn't have people in the store to clean that up. I had to do that as a cashier within the store. I had to answer questions about the product. And it wasn't just cute little amusement park trinkets, okay? Like you said, you know,
yeah.
There are specific theme parks within Florida. You know, if you know which one I'm talking about, then you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah. Also, I think the narrative of a robot can replace you is very scare the poor people. Scare the poor people into doing work. Like, child, robot replaces nobody. I'm working tech. The robot is not as advanced as people want to think in their mind, child. The robot, the only good robot out there really is those new vacuums that are, you know how they're round? I think Dyson makes them that literally
the Rumbas
and then move away. It literally has to hit something to move away. Child, the robot. There is actually a great failed tech story about this. What's the name of the company? The pizza company that was doing drone deliveries. Y'all could Google this. The pizza company that was doing drone deliveries, child, they don't exist anymore. They don't exist anymore. It was not that great. It was not. But it's very interesting. It's interesting to see how people think. I do firmly believe, as I have stated, that we are conditioned in this country to be individualistic, which individualism breeds that type of thinking, which is, well, I got to do for me, and then of course I can reach back. Because of course it doesn't sound bad. There's nothing wrong with saying, I got to take care of myself, and then I'll reach back out. But there is an inherently something wrong with believing that, oh, well, we just have to like work within this system, and it's like, fine, like I just accept it. You don't have to accept anything.
Exactly.
There's
and like,
oh, go first.
And acknowledging privilege. Okay, I am
We can talk about this. We're like, oh, it's 9:00. We've been out here a long time. Okay, we can talk about this, and then we're going to bed.
So, acknowledging privileges, I am a light-skinned Caribbean American. Mm-hmm. Okay, I am reasonably intelligent. I was in all the gifted programs as a child. You know, I can do the work. Like, I can do the work. I could get that college degree, all that other stuff. I had literally within the Black community, I'm not going to say that I had it all because I didn't have money. Like, my family, we weren't like super duper poor, but there was like 5 of us, okay? There were 5 of us growing up. My mom was super sick. So most of our money went to, you know, helping her and, you know, her doctor bills. But like, reasonably, I could, like, if you're looking at this on paper, I have everything going for me. Why didn't I succeed? Why didn't I succeed? Depression, anxiety, unchecked learning disabilities. I should not have been 27 and being diagnosed with ADHD.
No, and there are people that are in their late 20s being diagnosed with things that are so easy to catch in a young child, but our school system is so underfunded that these teachers are too overworked to catch all of these things. The average teacher in Florida before the pandemic has 30 children in their school. Have y'all ever been around kids?
Exactly.
Have y'all ever been around kids? Come on, 30 kids running around in your class. How in the world are they supposed to catch everything? Be honest.
Exactly.
But if you have money, you could send your kid to a private school where there are only 15 kids in your class. Good for those kids, but that's not fair to the other kids that are like, well, I don't have the money. I got to go to the regular school.
And to your point about that, my parents, they had us in magnet schools. When I was growing up, all of my older siblings were in magnet schools up until, let's see. So the 2 oldest of them went through elementary and middle school at a magnet school, and then they transferred to a regular high school. And then the one older than me got to 5th grade, and then it was me and her who got transferred to a regular elementary school. And then we went from there, because when she was in 5th grade, I was in 1st grade, but 2nd grade. But we were in magnet schools, and you want to know the reason why my parents had to transfer us to the regular school? My teacher was racist. My teacher failed me. No, my teacher failed me. She failed me. And my parents, they caught it because they were, my mom, listen, my mom used to be all up in our grades and everything. And she caught that even though I had good grades, I was consistently getting marks in these things. And so she had a feeling about the teacher, and they go and talk to the teacher, and lo and behold, you know, my mom, she was just like, this woman's racist. We can't deal with this. The principal, and then when they went to the principal didn't care either. So they transferred us to a regular school. I'm in 1st grade. Literally, I'm in a new school, week into class. Can we get so-and-so to come to the office? Because we found, and by the way, I can't believe they said all of this over the freaking intercom either. Like, what the heck? But like, so we see in their records that, you know, there is an error. They actually need to be transferred to a grade 2 class. And here I am, just sat there stunned and shocked, you know, trying to acclimate to everything with, you know, like I said, these unchecked reading disabilities. You know, not reading disabilities because, girl, I was reading at college level in elementary school, wasn't that? But literally 1 week into the school year, I found out that I didn't fail. And you know, when I got that report card and that I saw that I failed, I cried my freaking eyes out. I cried. I was so
and it's important to note, like, that does something to like a child's self-esteem. So again, as somebody who has people assume that if someone hasn't made it, it's because they haven't worked hard, which I find completely disrespectful and inaccurate. Like, I work hard. There's an element of luck. There's an element of privilege and luck. I am in a light-skinned 3C perceived white adjacent body. Let's be honest. But people don't want to say those things and they don't want to count all of that. So then you have, oh, well, you failed because there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. I'm sorry that happened to you, Jace.
I'm sorry too. I really honestly wish that I could. I really honestly wish that I could go back and hug my younger self and tell them that there's nothing wrong with them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Like, and that's why these conversations always bother me, because it's like, you can do everything within your power. And that's the thing. You should do everything within your power, because when I got that job, I worked hard. I made sure to show that I was a good employee. I could do the work. But when it's time to get promoted, I got rejected 3 times over people who hadn't been there as long as I had. Other people didn't respect as much as me. I literally had, like, the first time I got rejected for a promotion, I literally had people come up to me and tell me, I can't believe they did that to you. That person, and, you know, I don't like when people, you know, I don't like the, oh, so-and-so didn't deserve that thing, but it's just like.
But so-and-so didn't speak up for you either, which is a form of gaslighting. Because people are quick to be like, I saw what happened to you, but didn't speak up for you and didn't say anything. Because it would jeopardize their also poverty position, which is how this all continues to perpetuate against all of us.
Exactly. And it's just, it's bothersome, because it's like, you can do everything you're supposed to, but you can do everything you're supposed to. You can even have the privileges, and you still get a bad hand.
Exactly. Because the system is crap. And I think acknowledging that the system is crap, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see why anybody would be against saying this system is crap. It's completely flawed. It's inherently flawed. It's causing all of us to lose together. Why don't we all just band together as a community? Like, we don't have the time for it right now because it's 9:00 and I haven't eaten dinner, but it is very interesting to me, 2 wines now. There's 2 glasses of wine in here. Interesting to me, and also sad to see and to understand that we could be so much better off if, hate to drag them into it, but it's true, if poor white people would realize that they are poor. And instead of saying like, hey, on this caste system in America, at least I'm not black. Boo-boo, you poor. This is not working for you either. If we could just say anything, if we could just get together and say that we could fix these things. And at least in the Black community, if we could get everyone who is an outlier like myself to acknowledge and just be empathetic and say like, hey, I got here because, yeah, I worked hard. Nobody's saying nobody worked hard. You worked hard. Great. Good for you. Everyone works hard. You're not special. You worked hard, and some luck and some privilege came and met up with your hard work. It takes nothing away to acknowledge those things. I appreciate you always for being so vulnerable. And I hope that this did not reopen a wound for you. And I apologize for the other people, the other person, if it did.
You're fine. Number one, I chose to come on here and say that, but also, you know, I'm someone who wants to be open in this type of way to show other people, you know, number one, you're not, because that's another thing is the systemic gaslighting of marginalized people. You feel like you're crazy when you notice these things. And it's just like, no, honey, you're not crazy. These things do affect you and they do hurt you. And you're allowed to say that. You're allowed to say that. You're allowed to feel that. And, you know, it does kind of hurt to have to revisit that, but at the same time, it's like, I am willing to revisit that hurt if I can help someone by saying that.
I appreciate you. So thank you.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And I will talk to you next week. We'll be here on Juneteenth. Wow, another wonderfully happy topic, child. Bundle of joy over here. Thank you, Jace.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Well, that took an interesting turn. I agree, Kareen, with what you said earlier, that like that JT he didn't disagree that the system sucks. I agree with that. But I think that actually I meant to leave it here so I could say something. I think that trying to tell people the only way is to operate within the system is not correct. Also, yeah, not everyone, but the majority, I agree. The majority of people work hard. So like, of course, there are scammers everywhere. The rich are scamming. That was the whole purpose of this. So like, I don't think it's worthwhile to know on the people that like don't work hard. It's this few and far between. The majority of people we know, child, they're struggling. They struggle and they work longer hours than Elon Musk, who, child, I don't know what that man does besides going to space. So that's my only point, and I feel bad that we're on a sad point. I also have had 2 glasses of wine now, so that's probably why I feel bad. Emotional, just kidding. This was a very interesting conversation. A few things that I want to say to be clear. And I think the conversation is welcomed. I'm always like welcome to have it. But I do really believe, like I said before Jace called, that people in America are very individualistic, and individualism is the death of everybody. It is. It doesn't work that way. It cannot get fixed if everybody just is like, well, I'm gonna look out for myself. It can't get fixed. And I think that the more we say, hey, there's something wrong with the problem, there's nothing wrong with me, something wrong with the system, sorry, there's nothing wrong with me particularly, is the faster that we fix things. Because we can continue doing this. I can continue saying, well, I owe 250. No, I don't. I owe 226,000 now. That's so much better. As you all know, I've paid off 85 grand, which is a lot of money, which sounds like a lot of money because it is a lot of money coming from me. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, there are people hoarding wealth. They have no need to hoard wealth. School should not cost so much money. It should not be 30 kids to one teacher. The wine is kicking in. 30 kids to one teacher to have then children be undiagnosed with issues that are easily solvable. It's unnecessary. And that's my point, is that a lot of the gripes of American culture are valid, and they're also unnecessary. As in, we could solve them so quickly and so fast if we all just agreed to not participate in this anymore. And by not participate, I don't mean like dramatic, like, oh, we're not going to work. Like, child, I live in reality. But I mean, agree to say something, agree to be like, hey, Joe, like, you really acting like you were the top pick. You weren't, boo. We just voted for you because there was nobody else. Like, let's be honest. Because I'm a little annoyed with him in my student loans. I'm just saying. So that is just, my personal opinion in my little corner of the internet, which I'm glad that we could have a respectful conversation. There was somebody acting a fool, because people will act a fool, and I blocked them. So bye to that person. And that's just that. So let me see. We're gonna go through some comments, and then I realize in the UK, look, shout out to Judy, to Blood Honey, and to everybody else in the UK, because I know it's late. So it's not altruistic if the uplift of society also mean uplift for you personally. It's in your best interest. It is. I think that's what sometimes that we forget, because it's easy. Like, the cell phone, as amazing as it is, everyone's face is just in the cell phone, myself included, all day, just scrolling around in the cell phone. You forget that like you're in a huge world full of other people. And if you help somebody, you could help yourself. So if you need a reason, why not, and I'm not perfect and I'm trying to like get better at it, but I think we could all work together at it. So I appreciate y'all, and I'm sorry for keeping you so late, but it was very interesting. So I appreciate all of you that called in and had this discussion, and I will see y'all. The student loan video is edited. No, I lied. That's not true. It's filmed. I need to edit it. And then I will upload it. Also, I'm curious to rewatch this because it's interesting to like have a discussion with somebody, but then to rewatch it. I'm curious to see how that goes. So thank you all for tuning in. And thank you everyone who's joined the Patreon. If you haven't joined and you're interested in joining, it's going to launch next week on Saturday, on Juneteenth. I hope you're celebrating Juneteenth. If you're not familiar with Juneteenth, that's totally fine. We're going to talk about it next week. It's interesting, the rising quote unquote popularity of Juneteenth. My best friend since I was 11 is from Texas. So I'm familiar. And I think we should talk about that. We should talk about like some of these corporations being like, oh, we have Juneteenth now. The same way that, you know, they just want to put everything in rainbow for a month and then forget about people. I think it's all interesting. So we will talk about it. And I appreciate all of you. So you guys have a good night. Good night, CC Funk. Good night, all of you. And I appreciate you guys. Cross the line of homeschooling. Okay. Good night, T Muckin. And I will see you guys. Oh, hi, 20. Thank you. 20's here. Just so you know, this is who I started the channel with. Love you. And also, if there's somebody else with the name Shayna T, that's going to be hysterical. And they're just going to be like, no, I don't know who you are. So that's Shayna's initials. So we'll see. Thank you, Judy. Well, you guys have a good night and be safe. All right. Bye. Oh, I'm over here like, where's the end button, child? Night.